How's everyone doing? You feeling tired a little bit? Right? I don't know. It's like been a long day, but I want to ask you guys a question here. How many of you guys have ever been just like so scared, so full of fear that it kind of like stops you in your tracks? Yeah? That your brain kind of stops working. You don't even know how to, what the next step is, right? I've been scared a lot of times. I'm going to tell you this story. When I was about probably 16, maybe 17 years old, I was at my parents' they own some property, like a ranch kind of northwest of Calgary. And I'm out there. This is in like the foothills. So you can imagine it's middle of nowhere. There's trees, it's rivers. It's really cool. Awesome place. But I was out there with my cousin. I was doing some work, building some fences and stuff. And then in the evening, we would kind of go out and be like, oh, we go hang out. We'd go swimming. We'd do all this sorts of stuff. But this one particular day, like, let's go shoot some birds. It's kind of this thing that you do. In the country, I was young, so like, hey, let's go shoot some birds. So I grabbed a shotgun, some bird shot in it, and my cousin he had like a 22, and so we're kind of sneaking. We drove our quad up, and then we're sneaking so quietly. We're probably about maybe half a kilometer from our quad. I kind of crest this hill, and I look down, and in my mind, I'm like, this is my thought, why are there cows in here? Because my parents raised cattle, and like, they're not supposed to be here. Why are there cows here? They weren't cows. What else is really big and brown? Bear, right? So this was a sow and two cubs, which is a mom and two cubs. And the cubs were basically the same size as the mom, so they're big. So from me to like the door right there. See that door? Okay. So the mom stands up, like in a movie or something. She stands up and goes, she does this big grunt, right? And I'm terrified, like absolutely terrified. And like, I kind of had heard all the, what you're supposed to do in the moment when you see a bear, right? You hear that, but when you're actually in front of a bear and it looked like it was going to charge us, my initial instinct, what is it? You either fight or you flight. Fight or flight. I did not want to fight this bear, okay? So I start to like run. And my cousin, who's like this total redneck, he just like grabs my arm. He's like, don't move, right? And he doesn't talk like that, but that's how I imagine him in this story. Don't move. On the count of 3, we're going to shoot our guns off in the air, okay? So we're having this like standoff with this grizzly bear. Like, you've heard the stories. Grizzly bears are terrifying. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, boom, I shoot the shotgun off in the air. He shoots the 22. Luckily, thank God, bear kind of turned around, all 3 of them, wandered off into the woods, right? Then we had to walk half a kilometer back to our car or quad. And so I'm thinking the whole time, is this bear going to, is it going to attack me? It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I would never, ever in a million years recommend that you meet a bear in the woods, but very scary. But the reality is that was by far not the most scary moment I've had in my life. I'm going to tell you about that. This happened over the span of a few months, but I can pinpoint it to like a couple moments, okay? And this is a real low point for me, but just fear gripping me like I never had before. I remember laying in the dark, laying in my bed all by myself. My family's downstairs. My head's spinning. I'm dizzy. I remember staring at this like pile of crumpled blankets like on my bed. I just remember that so vividly. And I remember feeling just like, I have a crazy headache. My world feels like it's spinning. And I feel like this dome of hopelessness surrounding me to the point where I'm just like, there's no possible way forward. Just terrified. I was so afraid. See, that year was 2019. I had just quit my job at another nonprofit. So I worked initially I'm a ordained reverend, so I worked as a pastor at a church called Hope City, went into nonprofit work, and I'd quit my one job at a nonprofit and had this idea. I ventured out to start this thing called Youth Rise. So I was like right kind of in the mix of it. January 6th of that year, my life came to a grinding halt. So I took a hard fall to the floor in a pickup basketball game, smacked the back of my head, received my 8th concussion. So there's a lot of football guys here, sports guys. Concussions are horrible. I actually had a long history of struggling through concussion injuries through playing some college football, basketball, college basketball as well. But this one, in my adult years, would lead myself and my family into what I think would be the most difficult period that we ever have faced. So headaches, dizziness, to the point of almost passing out on a continual basis. Some anxiety that was new for me. Just even a tough time I try to write an email. I could barely I couldn't get the words right. I just couldn't think anymore straight. I'd get lost when I'd go for walks. I didn't know where I was. I'd start panicking. Okay, so all these things, some depression, couldn't concentrate for more than a few minutes at a time, extreme fatigue, all these symptoms, all the things you hear about with athletes having a lot of this stuff. I was living with it. And it didn't last days or weeks, so you feel like, okay, if this was a couple weeks or days, maybe you could push through it, just power through it. This was like months, okay? So I'm into we're talking 6 months, and I think there's only one word to describe what this actually felt like, and it was torture. This felt like torture on my mind. I was worn down to nothing. I retreated from people. Remember, I'd still go out and stuff or whatever, barely, but I'd go to church. I'd go to church 20 minutes late, leave 20 minutes early so I didn't have to see anyone, Just terrible, terrifying time. I'd lay in bed for hours, sometimes days. And at some of the lowest moments, I would hope that I can't remember who else had mentioned it, but maybe it's just easier if I'm not here. The pain just feels so extreme. Didn't think about killing myself, but I thought genuinely God, if you could just take me out when I go to bed, that'd be good. Could end it all. It's crazy thinking about that now, but that's where my mind was at that moment. And at first I was kind of thinking about Youth Rise. Still had this dream about starting this organization, this excitement, this passion. Everything had lined up. I got the yes from God. I checked with all my mentors. I made sure the finances were okay. I had a pathway. It was I had a clear yes from God. So at first I was mourning the loss of Youth Rise and what that all meant. But as the months went on, all I actually wanted to be was I just wanted to be a dad. I just wanted to be a husband. I've got 3 boys and a wife. They actually just walked in at the back there. It was a very confusing time for me. And I was filled with shame, just randomly, about my situation. I was so ashamed of who I was and who I had become in that moment that I wasn't my full self. I was just ashamed, as if it was my fault, but I was ashamed to even talk to people and stuff. So that was scary. That was actually a lot, believe it or not, that's a lot more scary than actually even meeting a bear in the woods. That was a lot more scary than that. So my wife, Jessica, who's back there, she was an absolute rock for me. So my family and other friends, very supportive, but Jessica had encouraged me to take some time away during that time. This is in month 6 we're talking about, okay? Take some time away, go seek God, get some clarity. So I went to the same ranch my parents have, to just be by myself. I was the only one out there. It was 5-6 days. I'm going to just go out and seek God and try to get some answers. I can tell you with, full assurance, I have never in my life prayed such prayers of desperation. I would this is my routine those 5 days. I'd get on a quad and an ATV. I'd go drive around in the woods. I'm by myself. There's no one around for miles. And if someone could have just heard me, they would have thought I was crazy. I remember just yelling and screaming these prayers. I've never felt that. It was you read about in the Psalms when David is just these guttural prayers of desperation. That's what I was experiencing because I was so desperate for a move of God that I just had nothing. I had no strength. I had nothing, and my prayers were basically God, if you don't show up, I'm done. If you don't show up, I'm screwed. I can't do this. I need a miracle. It was I think it was day 5, the last night, and I still was feeling all this weight, this dizziness. I remember calling my wife, and I said, I think I'm just going to come back early. It's not really working. And she was like, just stay. Just stay for another day. And so I did, stayed for another day. And, man, thank God I did. I woke up. This is crazy because it's June 6th, so 6 months after January 6th. I wake up in the morning, and I can't explain it other than, and I didn't do anything special. I just woke up. And I kid you not, it was like this, there was a weight off of me, okay? There's a weight off of me, and my symptoms and headache and dizziness, like, completely, like, just limited. I still had some symptoms, but the weight, the heaviness, the thing that had been crushing me and crippling me in that dome, like I was telling you about, that felt just so hopeless, that was off of me. And so I'm like, okay, well, wait 10 minutes. It'll come back. Didn't come back. I'll wait an hour. It'll come back. You're waiting for the shoe to drop, right? Because when you've walked through something where you felt not normal for so long, feeling not normal feels normal. And then when you feel normal, it feels not normal. Does that make sense? It felt so bizarre to feel normal. And I'm, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, months to this, we're 2026, it hasn't come back. I'm normally a very analytical person, kind of when it comes to healing and supernatural things, so it's hard for me to fully embrace, but I remember began a journey moving forward that day, and my health started to come fully back to this point where God has completely restored me. I know for a fact God healed me. That's like He performed a miracle on my life and physically healed me that day. Healed me emotionally, healed me mentally, gave me drive, gave me joy, gave me things back in my life that had disappeared. And yeah, it makes me emotional thinking about it. And then slowly after this, I started investing more time into this dream that God had placed in my life. The yes was still a yes, okay? The yes was still a yes. So I started to pursue this. But I want to read some scripture. Psalm 116. This perfectly summarized my situation in this year. And I'll probably get a little emotional as I read this. But this to me is like, this is it. This is what God did in my life. This is David. I love the Lord, for He heard my voice. He heard my cry for mercy. Because He turned His ear to me, I will call on Him as long as I live. The cords of death entangled me. The anguish of the grave came over me. I was overcome by distress and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord. Lord, save me. The Lord is gracious and righteous. Our God is full of compassion. The Lord protects the unwary. When I was brought low, He saved me. Return to your rest, my soul, for the Lord has been good to you. For you, Lord, have delivered me from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling, that I may walk before the Lord in the land of the living. So that feels like that verse is just, it's so intertwined with me and who I am. So God is so good. And so the Dream Reignited Youth Rise was up and running within a few short months. We're back at it, okay? Can I tell you some of the incredible things that God has done through Youth Rise since then? We started Youth Rise because, here's the thing, I was a pastor. I loved it. I love the discipleship process. I love working with families. I love teaching people about Jesus. I kept seeing a group of young people in our city who just had barriers that seemed insurmountable through no choice of their own. Young people who also didn't necessarily think about the church or didn't necessarily care about the church. So in a sense, I'm like, man, how do we get to them? How do we go into their world, surround them at their level, and bring the light of Jesus right into the neighborhoods, rather than wait for them to come to church and show up at church, okay? So many of our kids, the large majority of our youth come from low-income families. The large majority are new Canadians, with a giant chunk of those being refugee families. Many of them don't know their left hand from their right from a spiritual perspective. So Youth Rise is about going into their world and bringing the light of the gospel to them. Here's our kind of purpose for existing. We exist to empower young people from vulnerable communities to rise to their full God-given potential. So check this out, some cool things that have happened in the last little while. We've grown significantly every year since we started in that early 2020. Just this past year, we had just under 1,000 individual youth attend our programs, which is wild, okay? We're in 3 areas of Edmonton, running about 10 different types of programming all throughout the week. So we're in Millwoods, we're in Kingsway area, and we're in Clairview. About to expand, probably. We're seeking God on that. We've kept the core staff since day one. So we have 5 full-time staff and 5 part-timers, and I have the best team ever. So Carlos was here. Carlos is like, this guy was playing electric, then he's on drums. Carlos, wave your hand over there. Yeah, he's the man. So Carlos is my program director. I also want to, if anyone else here has volunteered or part of Youth Rise in any way, just make some noise. Pretty good. Okay, that's good. I got a lot of my guys here. That's awesome. We have over 50 frontline volunteers. Our budget continues to increase year over year. Every single year, this allows us to have increased ability to meet the needs of youth. We're deeply connected with the local church. It's something that I'm very passionate about because it matters. We have an annual fundraiser in May that you are all invited to, by the way, to come and see us, see what we do. In May, we have over 500 people that show up to that. We've seen significant life transformation in the lives of countless youth. Handfuls of youth have been baptized and gone from spiritual darkness to life, embraced Jesus, plugged into local churches. And guess what? We're just getting started, okay? We're just getting started. We're entering year 7. We feel the momentum. We feel God with us. Doors are being opened that have never been opened before. It's incredible. We work with so many non-Christians that just love us because of what we bring. And we also work with so many churches. And so it's really exciting. But here's the thing. This is just a slice of my story. I'm very thankful that God allowed me to see Youth Rise become a reality. And obviously, if you want to connect with me or Carlos or any of my other team, you guys go to that table. If you guys want to connect with us and chat about some stuff, you can do that. If there's anyone here that maybe would like to volunteer or give their time, we have so much stuff going on, so do that. But it's cool that the Youth Rise thing was able to happen, obviously. But you know what the greater miracle is in all of this? Here's the greater miracle. That I'm able to be a husband to my wife, a father to my boys, that God's allowed me to have life again. So I'm 42 years old, okay? I'm gray, I'm getting old. So to the people I work with, like my staff and our volunteers especially, they're 18 to 22 or something. I'm like an ancient being, right? I'm a dinosaur. But I feel like I still got some life left to live, right? I got some life left to live. But guess what? There are more dreams inside of me. More things that God is calling me to do with Youth Rise and beyond, actually. My eventual goal, I'd love to hand Youth Rise off to a better leader than me, right? That's what I'm trying to do is raise up a better leader and hand it off to better hands than me. There's more to accomplish, so I have the drive to do, okay? I have the drive to do still. But I found perspective in going through what I did that I think brought some wisdom, some good wisdom from God, okay? And it's kind of this. We have limited time on earth. I'm 42, maybe 40 years. That'd be cool. Max 50 probably, right? I'm kind of what they say, over the hill. I'm there. And I hurt my back 2 times this year. Once bending over to tie my shoe, the other time bending over to towel off my feet from the shower. So I'm at that age, basically. But here's the thing. Even if you're in here, it was really encouraging hearing, where's the doctor? Is he in the building? Hearing like, yeah, come on, like 57, getting his PhD. That's incredible. There's more, okay? God has more for you. That was really encouraging to me. But here's the thing. When I imagine my twilight years, kind of the last year of my life, let's say, maybe it's 85, maybe it's 90, who knows? I don't know. But I'm imagining my twilight, my last year of life, okay? This is what I imagine. That I'm still deeply in love with Jesus. That I'm serving him. That I'm still deeply in love with Jessica, my wife. God willing, we're still like both alive. We love each other. We're serving him. I'm still deeply connected to my 3 boys. They're still deeply in love with Jesus. Maybe they had kids of their own, you know. We're talking down the road. I'm deeply connected to my grandkids. They're serving Jesus. I want to be known as someone who has modeled their life after Jesus. When people think about me, they think about, oh man, that I experienced Jesus. That's what I want. And of course I want to make a bit of a difference in the world. Of course I want to bring the light of the gospel in. And of course I want to make a difference and transform lives. Of course I want to do. But here's the thing. Okay, here's what I won't probably be thinking about. And in your own context, think about this, okay, what this might mean. Here's what I won't be thinking about. I'm probably not going to be thinking about like, oh man, like I was so successful as a minister. Man, I built a nonprofit and maybe I built it 50 times the size. I'm probably not going to be thinking about that, okay? I'm probably not going to be thinking about, I wrote a book. I was on a podcast. I got invited to speak at so many major events. My peers respected me so much. Churches just wanted me to come in to speak. You know, those things are actually not bad. Those would be cool. I'd welcome that. That'd be really cool. But that's not what I'm going to be thinking about in my twilight years. I told you about fear. I told you about the bear. That's scary. If you can avoid it, do. I told you about that valley that I went through. Infinitely more scary. But here's the thing. From a large, overarching perspective, maybe the thing that's the scariest thing of all is living my life and not finishing well. Okay? I think that you all here should probably think about that too. I want Jesus to say to me, well done and good and faithful servant. And that, oftentimes we think about, well, that's just me getting into heaven. Sure, I do not want to squeak into heaven and leave a trail of destruction behind me. I want to leave legacy. I want to leave health. Imagine you gain all the success in the world, but your life is in shambles. And I don't know if you're like me, but man, the church has just been going through it in the last little while. Church leaders dropping like flies. And it kind of rips at my guts. People who I respected incredibly. Just recently, like author Philip Yancey, 8-year affair. It's hard to like even make sense of that. Because here's, someone who clearly had the hand of God in their lives and clearly God was moving in incredible ways. Does that mean he's over? And no, not at all. But it changes things, okay? It causes some destruction. It rips at me. I've known men in my life, very incredible leaders, guys who I've respected a lot, guys who have done incredible things, guys who have spoken to thousands and led movements that had led thousands of people to Jesus, who everyone actually at one point wanted to be. Oh, if I could only be that person. And a handful of these guys have just dropped a grenade in their life. Moral failure. So, an affair. One of the guys just got into some really bizarre teaching, walked away from faith altogether. So their lives are kind of in shambles. And that twilight years, when they initially imagine what could life look like, it's not going to look like that for them. It changes. Well done, good and faithful servant. I imagine you, if you follow Jesus in this room, you also desire to finish well. I would say this, that there's probably a lot of ideas and a lot of excitement and a lot of like cool things that a lot of people can start in this room, and that would be amazing. If it's ministries, if it's businesses, if it's, making money, if it's inspiring others, if it's hiring people, if it's starting movements, all of that. That's cool. I'll tell you this, what would probably be significantly more valuable to the kingdom of God and to you all is if this group of men just was faithful. If this group of men just lived their lives out with high character. And you know what? Those things come. Being faithful leads to opportunities. It's not like just be faithful and sit in your house and never go out and never do anything. Of course not. You got to get out and grind. You got to do that stuff. We also know, though, that we have an enemy, right? The enemy comes to steal and kill and destroy. Jesus says, I've come that they may have life and have it to the full. So there's some things that probably will take you out. They're different for us all. So if you can imagine, what's your twilight year scenario? Just imagine in your mind, what are some things that might take you out? Because for me, guess what almost took me out? Lies. I was cycling, actually, I don't even know if I was cycling this thought that I'm never going to recover from this. I'm going to become a vegetable. I'm not going to be a dad to my kids. I'm not going to be a good husband to my wife. Ministry is done for me. Those were cycling thoughts that I kept cycling through. You know what? It took me a lot of counseling. Went to see a psychologist. It took me a ton of, prayer, a ton of some medication, obviously all those things, and also a miracle to get me out of that. But that was a lie that could have taken me out. It's a scouting report on my life that was not true. You know what I mean? I beat the odds. It could be hopelessness. It could be shame. Some of you maybe, as fathers or husbands, maybe you're just like, this is something that I think about all the time, but like, man, I'm not leading like I should. And Eddie, you talked a little bit about this, like that shame can freeze you up. It can make you like, guess what we have? Like, we can keep going, right? We can keep going and we can change tomorrow. You don't have to be defined by the failures of your past. You can keep moving, so shame can hold us back, right? It could be just that, the grind mentality of like, I just want to climb and get platform no matter what, and I'll step on anyone's head in order to get it. That could be that. It could be, we got to talk about lust. For a lot of men, the majority of these situations where Christian leaders are blowing their lives apart, it's because of hidden lust. We need a culture of vulnerability, a revolution of vulnerability in the church. Because like even Danny was saying, like, man, you open it up with that line. Whatever you're going through, you got to. Man, we need it. Because the moment you start to harbor something and hold it inside, I can't tell anyone, because if anyone knew, if anyone would find out, then I'm done. Well, guess what? You're dealing with it by yourself, and it's going to come out. It will, whether it's whatever. How old is Philip Yancey's? Like 75 or something. Like, brother, come on. Did he have anyone to talk to? I don't know. Maybe it's just distractions. It's just like, yeah, you're just flipping through social media, not even doing anything bad. You're just like flipping through social media, playing a game, and you wasted years of your life. You distract yourself. That might take you out. Craig Groeschel is a pastor down in the U.S. He says this line that always has stuck with me. He says, do something drastic with your sin before your sin does something drastic with you. So, do you want that twilight year scenario? To be determined. It's TBD. Do you, is your life going to blow up in shambles? Are you going to leave a trail of destruction behind? TBD. To be determined. Because you have right now to decide to leave a legacy that's going to be enriching and empowering for your family and for the people behind you. But here's the thing. I think that faithfulness is kind of the key in this. So faithfulness is this. It's one step at a time. It's saying, I don't really know how everything will come together, but I'm going to trust God. So in my scenario, when my brain was just done from concussion, from injury, I just didn't know. I didn't even think there was a tomorrow. And there's so many things. I wish I had bigger faith in that moment in retrospect. I wish I could have been like a spiritual giant, but I was pretty weak. But one thing that I did do is just I kept hanging on to Jesus. And I kept saying, I don't know, God, like, you got to figure this out. And so our lives are like this, and sometimes they go like this, right? Sometimes it dips, and we have low moments. But if we're moving in this direction, that's it. That's faithfulness. So faithfulness is the antidote to fear. Faithfulness is the antidote to lust. Faithfulness is the answer to all these things, just trusting in Jesus. If you're dealing with lust, it's very difficult, guys. I get it. Like, it pulls at us. It's going to continue to pull at you. But the reality is, like, be faithful to Jesus. Take it one step at a time. Confide in others. Find people that you can confess to. Eugene Peterson, another author, says he calls faithfulness basically a long obedience in the same direction. And I love that. Just like long obedience, just going to keep going. So in the end, I think character is what really matters most. Wherever God takes you, God's done some incredible things. He's taken a lot. These stories are so encouraging and they're so exciting. You know what excites me the most about these stories is not that, wow, look at all the cool things they did. It's like, look what God is forming these men into. That's the coolest part of this, right? So yeah, go out, grind, build something, make money, right? Make more money, hire people, transform lives, grow your trade. Some of you might start something way bigger than Youth Rise in this room. Maybe there's someone that's going to do that. All the power to you. I say, God, like, absolutely do it and get out and make it happen, but never this, never at the cost of your character. Never at the cost of your character. And so it's not about, I said I want to do, I still have more to do. Yes, I'm going to build more. I'm going to build more, and I got ideas and dreams and passions that I'm asking God to bless, and I want to do more, but it's way more important about who I am. And I want God to transform me. So I've said often, if as much as Youth Rise means to me, Youth Rise is my baby. I started it. If it ever means that my character becomes compromised and I can't see that twilight year, then no thank you. I'll walk away from it. No thanks. I'm way too concerned about my closeness with Jesus, my closeness with my family, my faithfulness. So it's cool. Be a man of character. Be a man of honor. Your character matters a heck of a lot more than your accomplishment or your platform, who you are. Because this is the cool thing, actually. Like, platforms become available when the character is there. When you chase platforms without character, yeah, you can get them for sure. But guess what? Being big and leading something big, it doesn't matter necessarily. Your character matters. Character over accomplishment, character over platform. So we'll close with this. I want you to just take a moment, and I want you to do some self-reflection, okay? So close your eyes in this room. There's been a ton of amazing, good, information. Like, we've been challenged so much this day. So there's so much going. I'm sure God has brought things to your mind already through all the talks. But how about this? Think about the end, that twilight year of your life, your last year. For some of us, we don't know. It could be this year. We don't know that. But imagine, like, imagine a scenario where it's your twilight year. Maybe you're in your 80s. What does it look like? What do you want? What do you want it to look like? Because this might be different from me. Some of you maybe you don't have a spouse, and maybe it's just you want to be close to your siblings. Maybe it's I want to be doing, but is it closeness with Jesus? What is it? Think about that. I want you to think also about some things that could take you out. What are those things? Because we all have them, and they're different for all of us. So think about it, and I'm not saying name it, but name it in your mind. Like, name it in your mind. What is it? Is there 1, 2, 3 things? Now, I want you to, this is really important. So you have 24 hours, basically. Keep your eyes closed just for a sec. You have 24 hours to kind of, psychologists always say this, to act on something before it'll be out of sight, out of mind, okay? You have 24 hours. Imagine who's a person, one person, okay? One person that you can confide in. And whether it's like one of these things that, man, Andrew, I need to just share this with you. I'm really struggling with this. Or it might be someone in this room. It might be a pastor. It might be a friend. It's got to be someone. Who can you confide in? Because Scripture is very clear. Like, man, when we need to confess our sins to God and to others. Doesn't mean go and write a social media post about all your sins that you're dealing with. I'm not saying that. But who's that person? Now I want you to also think about this last one. How has God been faithful in your life? You know, where are those moments where you've just been kind of like, man, I was faithful. God got me through that. What are those moments? Because you got to celebrate those. Okay, you can open your eyes. My story and the story of Youth Rise, I genuinely think it's a miracle. It's so cool because it started out so dark and God has redeemed it. And it's so amazing. It's a miracle. So can you imagine? Imagine I take this gift that God has given me with my life and I just squander it. What a shame that would be. So I want to finish well. And I want all of you to finish well. I want us to build character because I think that would make the heart of God just so proud of his kids. Thank you. I'm going to pray. You can, I'm going to pray first. God, just thank you for this group of men. I pray your spirit would just be so present in their lives, Jesus, that you would just empower these men now. There's a lot that we're thinking through and processing through, and I pray against discouragement. I pray against shame. I pray against any of those things, God. I pray that your spirit would move us to healthy action, knowing that also, like, it's not, we can't conjure up a life like this. It has to be done in submission to you. So help us to submit to you, help us to be faithful every single day, and help us to celebrate the good that you're doing in our lives, because we know that there's going to be ups and downs in life, God, but I just pray we'd hold to you and anchor ourselves to you. In your mighty name, amen.